Hi everyone, and welcome to Series 2 of the Confidence Conversations podcast. I'm Gail from Enrichment Coaching, and I'm a personal development and confidence coach. My vision is to live in a world where people feel confident to be their best authentic version of themselves every day. I really want to empower people to take action through exploring what I like to call their confidence DNA and how they can enrich it. So my style of coaching is really informal, it's conversational, and it will always be all about you. I'm not all about models and theory, although I do believe they have their time and place. I'm really actions focused, I'm direct, and there's no fluffy stuff involved. And I'm a big believer in pulling up your big pants and going and getting stuff done. Now, I love to make a difference to those beliefs that you have about what you think you can and cannot do. So if you've been thinking about how one-to-one coaching might work for you and you want to find out more, then get in touch through my website, which is enrichmentcoaching.co.uk, and you can find my links at the bottom of each show notes. So enough about me. I'm really excited to be back with Series 2 of the Confidence Conversations podcast with some incredible guests who are ready to talk honestly about them and their confidence. Now, for this series, rather than kind of general confidence conversations, we're going to be digging a bit deeper to understand more about the things that have an impact and the things that enrich your confidence. And remember, there's little to no editing, meaning the conversation you hear is really authentically confident. If you listen regularly, I'd love you to subscribe. And more than that, I'd love to hear what you think. So feel free to get in touch. So go on and listen to the latest episode. So hi everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode and series of the Confidence Conversations podcast. And I'm really excited today because we've got our first ever couple, business couple, IRL couple, Emily and Alan from Yellow Tuxedo. How exciting. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us, Gail. I was waiting for. Well, that's the problem with being a husband-wife team. You have to know which one's going to talk, and being the husband, unfortunately, I also have the loud mouth. So, yeah. Thank you for having us. Hello, Emily.
Hi.
Right.
Emily, I'm sure we'll make sure that you manage to get a word in edgeways. I'm sure you're used to it by now.
I get used to it. It's fine. I
You
smile and
can
wave.
hold your own. None of this malarkey. You can hold your own.
I love it. So tell us, before we get into any kind of conversation about confidence, and particularly we're going to be talking today about online presence and confidence. But tell us a little bit about Yellow Tuxedo and what you do.
So in essence, Yellow Tuxedo, we work together, husband and wife. We've been working together for nearly a decade now.
Yeah.
We are marketing mentors. We help show small business owners and entrepreneurs how to demystify the internet and get it working for their businesses. And that can be anything from being on video a bit more to understanding how to build an online ecosystem for their business, getting it actually working. Because the worst thing in the world is, I think there's so many methodologies out there of you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do that, and we all get, oh my goodness, there's so much we should be doing. We kind of take away all the jargon, we explain it in layman's terms, and we really give you that simple process to actually get your business seen.
It was that. I know this isn't about what we do and is about confidence, but there was a classic one about a month ago where it just kind of was one of those lots of conversations about, are you seeing, the ROI on LinkedIn, for argument's sake, or how's your email working? And we're like, no, your marketing can't be one channel. It has to be a more holistic, joined up process. And it's just about helping people understand. And that's our ecosystem part, is understanding how it all fits together or can fit together and work for you, really. Yeah.
And I think I was a member of yours probably during lockdown, and the only reason I stopped was because I got busy and I couldn't attend anything. So and then I was like,
bad problem. That
I know.
Honestly,
how awful,
yeah,
how awful. But I think that was one of the things one of the main things that I learned from you about having an ecosystem, and that it can't just be one thing. So things like my mailing list and blogging and things like that, after I worked with you, became really important to me, and they're still a big part of kind of what I do. But then seeing how it all comes together to make up a kind of a bigger picture, that ecosystem, and I do use that a lot. I think about that a lot, about how I can get everybody into.
Yeah, let's put Gail down as a success story.
That's one of the biggest things is you don't know what you don't know. And I think when we lay it out in that way and we explain, yes, we should be doing email marketing, yes, we should be blogging, yes, and there's a lot to take on. When you start to see that bigger picture and how all those little bits of the jigsaw puzzle start to fit in together, you're more inclined to do more of it because you can see the benefit to your business for that. I think when you hate something so much, like we have clients who really hate to blog, they hate writing, they're not Shakespearean, they don't know, they can't write War and Peace, and that's just not their bag. We go, okay, that's the benefit of blogging is for this reason, but what other ways can we get that pen to paper for you? That's not necessarily you having to sit there and try and think of that prose. How's your phone? Have you got a voice note, a dictation device on your device? Can you talk into it? Can you get it transcribed? Can you start doing more video and maybe input your videos into your blogs? And then you start saying it like that, and you're like, all right, yeah, I can see the bigger picture. I understand why. I can keyword optimize it for SEO and do all of that lovely stuff. But really, it's about, I have to do this more, whether I like it or not. And actually, as we come into this conversation about confidence today, whether you like it or not, you can see the benefit of doing it and the benefit for your business and ultimately getting money through the door for your business. Then that's why we come into play, really.
The knowledge bit's so important to this, and not just practically, like I said, and Emily said, to the confidence part we're going to come on to as well. But it's like email lists, isn't it? You go, you might reference, you think I've got to do an email as a business, and you start thinking about what you know about straight away, which makes sense. And you might start thinking about, well, Black Friday is a great example. Okay, you get a bazillion emails from the big brands. Okay, they come in, so you go, oh, I can't do that. It's like, no, of course you can't do that. That's ridiculous. Why would you do that? But you can do this. You can do this, and this bit can be simplified, and this bit could be automated. All of a sense, you have the confidence due to the understanding and the knowledge to then be able to go and do it. And we've always said that, without wishing to segue it too early into the confidence part. We've always said we want to break down blockers. We want to break down your fears by giving you the knowledge to understand, to be giving you the knowledge to have the confidence to go and do it, rather than not being sure how to do it. That's just one part of it for us.
Technical blockers should not be the reason you don't do something.
Agreed.
And the confidence to know that you're doing things right is a big thing.
I think as well, a big thing of what I do and how you've just described that is about being able to see things differently. So I think sometimes when you one of my favorite quotes at the moment is the Einstein one that says, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. And it's so true, isn't it? And like you said, Emily, you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes somebody helping you to think about things in a different way then helps you to go, oh, actually, do you know what? Maybe I can do this. Maybe this is within my reach, and that's okay.
Or at least giving you the opportunity to try it and see if it does work for you. And I think, again, it comes down to that confidence of, I don't know, maybe I don't want to do video because it's too terrifying, but actually let's give you the tools and tricks to start that process. And if after doing it you still don't resonate with it, or it still doesn't work for you, at least you've given it a go to see that actually yes or no, it doesn't work for your business as well.
The overwhelm's a big one, isn't it? That kind of, I need to do video as a standalone sentence can absolutely send people running for the hills. But when you break it down, understand why, understand how to get it working easier, trying to make it as simple as possible, is all of a sudden it can start to make sense and fall into place, or should make sense and fall into place.
I don't love doing video, and I do it. I think I make a bigger thing of it than it needs to be fair, like everybody does. But I think you can see the results when you do it, and you see, people actually like to see your face, believe it or not, and they like to engage with that. It's back to the human element, isn't it? It's the human part that they're seeing, rather than just a face or just a logo or whatever that is about your brand.
And totally. And this podcast now is an audio only podcast, but let's be honest, how difficult would it be to kind of take this video and just plonk that video on YouTube working for you? It's the same process fundamentally. There's perhaps 5 minutes more work in taking this video and chucking it on YouTube.
Chucking it on YouTube.
Placing it in an sorry,
That's
I shouldn't do that. Is rather overly unnecessarily dismissive of me. Placing it on YouTube as a quality piece of content that can work for your business.
There you go,
that's much better, isn't it? Sorry, everyone. Sorry for my generalized terminology there. I apologize to everyone.
That was a very confident statement though. Just chuck it on YouTube. A very kind of, whereas I'd be like, right, I need a good hour to think about how I'm going to do that.
Well, but then that's what we. Sorry, Emily.
No, that's exactly why we're here to do what we do. And yes, Alan says chuck it on YouTube, but he's been.
Which I'm already regretting massively.
The biggest thing is that we have worked on at some stage in our career, we didn't know how to chuck it on YouTube. We had to learn. Now, between the two of us together, we have, I was like Liam Neeson, a very unique set of skills, each of us. But we've had to help support each other to kind of get good at what we do, and that's why we help teach other people so that to get those skills under their belt. So it becomes muscle memory rather than being, I need to sit down, I need to really work how I'm going to do this, I need to think about every single step of the way. Once you have that knowledge, that muscle memory kicks into play, it gets quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. So by the time you get to your 100th episode where you've had a video and you don't even think about chucking it on YouTube.
It's just the process.
It's just the process of what you do. So therefore, that again, the confidence doesn't become the issue there. It becomes just part of my workflow. And yes, video is difficult for some people. And I completely appreciate it. And I probably do more so than Alan does. So whether I show it or not on any of our outward content, I suffer massively with anxiety, massively. And I always have done, even as a kid, but I'm a very outwardly confident person when I'm speaking. And I always remember, I was saying to Alan before this recording, actually, when I was 15 or 16, I had to represent the school in a the Hampshire youth speaking competition, which I won, which was great, fantastic. But I remember not wanting to do it, absolutely like the jelly in the legs for that feeling we all get in that when you're just not. I was so uncomfortable doing it, but outwardly I could get up, I could speak, I knew my subject matter, I could deliver it, I had that gusto in my voice, and I won the competition. But that still to this day is how I feel most of the time when I'm doing something new. So we do a lot of podcast interviews. I'm very lucky at this point. I've got Alan to my side, who I know will always have my back to sort of carry me if I'm floundering. We did an in-person presentation when we first started Yellow Tuxedo. Do you remember? It was a training event in person.
I do.
Yeah. And I went to start, and I suddenly went, there's 20 people staring at me, and I completely went, really horrible feeling. But I've had to learn the skills in order to speak and do this, because I see the value and the benefit for the bigger picture. And the bigger picture being, we want a sustainable business, a long-term legacy of a business where we can help other people. So in order to do that, I have to stand up and talk, and I have to put the video on sometimes. And I have had to practice many times knowing what I'm going to say, getting out there and delivering. And I think, so when we come across, and this is what we get quite a lot with people seeing Yellow Tuxedo, you guys are really confident, you do it all the time. Well, no, we're not. Adam,
well, no, I still get nervous. I'll cover my part in a moment.
Alan does get nervous, but we have all of those same fears and feelings as any other human being across the planet does. But we kind of look at that tipping scale and the actually, what's the benefit? Oh, it's actually a lot more than this would actually. To quote you in your big girl pants,
there is an element of this.
I pull my big girl pants up and go, let's get on with it today and start the day.
We got kids to feed. Do you know what I mean? We've got to pull up our pants and get on with it some days. Otherwise, the kids don't get fed at the end of the month.
Interesting. Today is the day. I know this is going to be going out sort of in the new year, but today is the day that England play Wales. And I was listening to the radio this morning, and the Wales manager had said, we've got to pull up our big boy pants and go out and do it. And I was like, oh, I need to record that quickly, because, and then they had this whole conversation about, well, what is it like when you pull up your big boy pants? And I was like, how do I phone into this show? How could I tell them about it? But Emily, I just want to pick up on your point about, practice. And there are three things for me that I think really help to build confidence. One is having the courage to go off and do that stuff in the first place. So however you're feeling, you accept that, acknowledge it, and you move through it, and that feeling subsides. It's about practice, isn't it? It's about, like we said, about the YouTube piece, and also like you said about, talking and speaking. It's about practicing it, and then it's being consistent with it. So doing it once and then going off and going, oh, well, I did that, and then not coming back to it, that doesn't help your confidence, because all those feelings, I'm not saying those feelings ever go away, because I don't think they do for anybody. Because you, I spent a lot of my corporate life doing training and speaking and in front of big groups, and one of the worst ones we used to have was when we used to call it like it was like an all staff meeting, And I used to hate that, because you could see everybody that you worked with day in, day out at eye level, like right in front of you, and you were out there on your own. And the feeling, I used to get all of those feelings you described there. Yet put me on a stage with an auto cue, with a mic, with 400 managers or 200 managers, whatever it was, and that was fine, because I could see everybody. Those feelings were like, oh no, that doesn't mean that was flippant, and I don't mean that I wasn't nervous with the auto cue, because I wore heels and that was a mistake for a start, but I think that made me nervous, because like, am I going to fall? But the feelings are bigger when I could see everybody, as opposed to not being able to kind of see what was in front of me.
I think on that, because I had a kind of corporate-y background, standing up on stage and thing as well. A lot of it's about what I'm talking about. So I worked for, I don't mind, can I mention name who I worked for? No one cares. Well, I don't know why I'm asked. Not the BBC. Not the BBC. I thought it was.
We're not that big yet.
I was on Greg James for a minute. Yeah, you love that. So I worked for Carphone Warehouse, and Carphone Warehouse did a deal with Best Buy from the US and brought a tech arm over called Geek Squad. And Geek Squad was still quite new into Carphone Warehouse, and they wanted to roll out some training. So we took the training from the States and started rolling it out. So this training that had been used for 5-10 years in the States, delivered by people in the States, history and culture training it was. And then us in the UK, who'd been employed for 2 months, had to deliver their training in the UK. Car crash. Utter car crash, right? Now I'm confident, and I'll come back to my confidence in a bit, if that's okay, because I've got my own kind of little story about that. And I'm confident, but what I was delivering, I didn't know. I didn't know what the topic was. I'd seen it once or whatever else. So we left that meeting, the guy, Richard, and I, who delivered it, and went, that was utter car crash. Got feedback that it was utter car crash, constructive, obviously. So we sat down, redesigned it, made our own version of it. And the next time we delivered it, they went, wow, that's blown us away. And Richard, similarly confident to myself, and we delivered it, and they were like, yeah, that's kind of more what we thought the last one was going to be like. Because I tried to deliver someone else's content. I tried to talk about something I didn't know about. And I still very much suffer from that kind of head teacher sort of thing. When someone says, oh, Alan, I've got a question for you, I'm like, I hope I know the answer. I hope it, am I going to know the answer? I get those little nerves. It's like a teacher going, can you come and see me? It's like when it's the unknown, I still have all of that stuff. I'm 8 years old. The head teacher is going to ask me a question. I don't know if I'm going to know the answer to it. And I still get that. Whereas when it's our stuff and our content we're creating and a podcast where we're talking about us, it's like, I know the topic. It can't be wrong. It literally can't be wrong, because what we talk about is we're experts here, specialists in what we talk about. Being Emily and Alan Braithwaite, we are the best people on the planet on the topic of Emily and Alan Braithwaite. So I'm okay talking about it. I do get nervous about I want it to go well. So if I'm delivering a webinar to, potential new people coming in, and the pressure is from a sales capacity, let's not beat around the bush here. I absolutely get nervous. I have another part that I might save in a moment. Yeah, I'll save it, because I've covered about, I can watch Gail making notes, and I've covered about 3 little things. So I thought, let me stop and I'll come back to my other part in a moment.
The bit that I wrote down that I can feel that I'm already going to be using this somewhere else in the context of confidence is when you said, we're the best people on the planet to talk about Emily and Alan Braithwaite. And I love that. You're going to see that's going to appear somewhere, because that's amazing, isn't it? Because it's true, we're all experts in ourselves, but we don't. You said that with such confidence. We don't do that about ourselves. Generally, people just don't do that about themselves. We play small, we do things that make us smaller, but that was what I was writing down, because I was like, I've got to write that down, because I've got to remember that.
I don't know why we are built to think small sometimes like that. We want, it's self-preservation, maybe, I don't know, but we design ourselves to, actually, I can't be really bold and make statements like Alan just did then. I can't possibly be the next Carphone Warehouse, Nike, wherever, whoever that's going to be for you. Go back to the content we put out, or the Black Friday deal that Alan said about earlier. we keep ourselves small, whether it's just because we don't have that. But at some point, if you do have aspirations to be bigger, to do something a little bit untoward, to go and have a bit of an adventure and do something completely out of your comfort zone, you have to take that step to say bold statements like that, to actually allow yourself the thought process to go, what if I could? How am I going to get that done? And that again comes back down to that being uncomfortable, but that discomfort giving you that stepping stone to something that could be really exciting for you, where actually could be your zone where you feel the most comfortable ever. You've had to get to there first. And I just don't know why we don't do it. And like we see it time and time and time again with our clients through the door. You know, they've been in business 10, 15, maybe 25 years, but they still have those same thought processes. Like, I can't do that. Why would I do that?
You know what? I've had about 15,000 thoughts of what you were saying. So there's a few things for me in exactly that, right? So first of all, we are almost conditioned to be comfortable. Yeah. Whereas actually the true growth and excitement of life, and therefore your business, will come from not being, you know, someone summited Everest. Do we reckon they were comfortable all the way up? Someone's run the London Marathon. Do we think they were comfortable? Someone's run their first 5K. Do we, you know, couch to 5? Do we think that was comfortable? No. Achievement is not comfortable, right? It's just not comfortable. And the other thoughts are like 99% of the people we speak to actually want us to succeed, actually want you to do well. They may not interact, but they still want you to do well. And we're in a great place where we make quite a lot of noise as a business, but we haven't reached the kind of being trolled line, right? So we get the odd trolling online, very rarely, probably a couple of times a year.
You had one last week with your magic trick.
Oh, yeah. I think it was deserved, but I delivered that in a kind of jokey way, so I was okay with that. But I think there's a lot of, you know, you see trolling out there, you see all this, you know what Twitter's like. We all know what Twitter's like. It'll be interesting to see how it progresses as a private company now under Elon. But it's so there is a lot of that kind of pressure of, I'm nervous, but actually, you know what? I haven't got an answer to that. Anyway, carry up, tag you in. Go.
Sorry.
So no, go on.
I mean, the last thing I say to that is people who are watching you, they do want you to succeed. That's why they're watching you. So the reason they've bought a ticket to that show to see you standing up in front of everyone, they've chosen to come and see you. They want to hear. They're not going to go, I really hope she falls on her face in her heels. They're not going to think that at all, are they? They want you to do well.
Yeah. Understanding that kind of the processes of how things are happening. It's like if someone, let's say you put a video on YouTube called How to Be Confident in 5 Steps, right? Hypothetically. The people who watch that want the answer to that video. So they're not going to go, oh, don't like your dress, oh, your content's wrong. No, because they're lacking in confidence trying to find the answer to be more confident. So if someone does challenge you or troll you, the chances are they fall into that kind of banner of being a douchebag. I was going to say donut, so luckily we kept it polite. You know, so then it's an element of, and I think understanding what's happening is important sometimes, of breaking that kind of process down. It's not a process, I can't think of the word. The relationship, the transaction, understanding the transaction of what's going on is important also to perhaps getting more confidence or being able to, you don't get more confidence, do you, Gail? Can you educate us on this?
You can. I think you can. And I think that's the point. And I wanted to come back to you saying about, you know, when somebody says, oh, Alan, I've got a question for you. And you go, oh God, I hope I get the, and you said, I was back in, you know, like my 8-year-old self in the classroom. I was talking to someone actually at networking about, you know, being picked for school teams and how I was always the last person to be picked. It's that kind of thing. But actually there is a video that I have chucked on YouTube, and it's about the confidence iceberg, only because you guys told me that that's what I should be doing, so that's what I did.
I've watched it. I believe I commented on it as well.
Yes, you did. Yeah. But right at the very bottom of that iceberg, and it's all about things that impact your confidence, whether that's positive or negative. And right at the bottom, it talks about your upbringing. So if you imagine right at the very bottom, deep seated as this confidence iceberg is your upbringing, where we build our beliefs and our values. So your belief as 8-year-old Alan was, I'm going to get told off if I get this answer wrong by the teacher, because that's how we see, that's how we perceive teachers. So coming back to the playing small bit, there's an element of our confidence that comes from our upbringing, and, you know, things like don't show off, Gail. You know, I was at a dancing school. Don't show off, Gail. You know, mum always tells a story. I must have said this before about, so we did a dance. It was called Kitty in a Basket. We had like these random stuffed cats in like a wicker basket. And something happened and I ended up at the back of the stage and I elbowed my way to the front. Mum was like, she clearly, I mean, I was probably like 4 or 5, but I would never do that now, partly because I'm really embarrassed that that's what I did. But it's those things, you know, where we're told as well, don't interrupt when I'm talking. You know, those things that we're told as children, we keep those with us. But I think whilst we can't change those things, we can change our perception of them. We can change the transaction we make with them to make them different, which can then positively impact our confidence. Definitely. So
it's interesting. I never blamed it on my mum and dad, but now I'm going.
Yeah, I know. I always feel bad. I mean, mum made my big pants, right? My actual big pants that I, you know, so I can't. I'm not, you know, giving her a shout out for that. But I think probably for me it was around teachers and, you know, people that I interacted with. And yes, there will have been some things, you know, like, you know, don't show off, Gail, things like that. But that was the era that we grew up in. That was, you know, yes, I am that old. They were the kind of things that we were told as children.
Yeah, absolutely. We were. And it's really that we've got 3 young children, and doing in the world we live in, I think this small business world is a very positive environment where there is a lot of support and self-development. It's quite exciting. So obviously having 3 young children, we are thinking about this all the time with our children. And actually you see them say things to each other like, we got 9, 7 and 5 for context. And you'll see like the 9-year-old say to the 7-year-old, don't brag, don't show off and things like that. And we're like, well, that doesn't come from us. You know, so where are they getting that from? It could be YouTube school or whatever.
No, but on the flip side, they do let's play photo shoots.
They do play photo shoots, and then you go, yeah, you know, they've seen that a lot. And the eldest is more than happy talking to camera, like 0 issues at all. And that's quite, because we know adults who will go, I couldn't do that. And it's like, well, you could, but let's gloss over that for the moment, you know. So
I mean, I think there's a lot we can take from our little selves as well, isn't there, in terms of confidence? So like, you know, like I said, I elbowed my way to the front of that stage, right? Why do I not? Because now I just play small, I would just stand at the back, you know, that it's those kind of things. But Alan, you also touched on environment, and in the confidence iceberg, environment's really important, and that's really important about who you surround yourself with as well. So not just kind of your physical environment, you know, those people that you spend time with. And I think in the small business world, that's really important, isn't it? When I know you guys don't work on your own, but you know, for us, those of us that do work on our own, it can be quite isolating and sometimes quite lonely, because you don't suddenly have that teammate that's sat next to you at the desk that you go, oh, can I just ask you this? Can I just ask you that? So who you surround yourself with impacts your confidence massively.
I would say that yes, we are a duo together, and we are husband and wife, best friends, business partners, all of that.
Oh, I love that.
It's equally quite lonely though, as a pair of us as well, because what we find ourselves doing, we fall into that trap, is we rely on each other and we don't externally look for other support as well. So we have got an amazing business network, but I think it's easy for us to perceive that people think we're okay by ourselves because we've got each other. But actually we still need to have those outward relationships with other people and those other thought processes and opinions to help shape what we do, to make sure that we're on the right track as well. So I do find that we get that, like what you said about being by yourself. Sometimes we do actually feel by ourselves, don't we? More than that.
I guess it's a scalable thing, isn't it? You know, if there was 100 people in an office who never saw anyone else and had no contact to the outside world, they'd still feel isolated and by themselves. You know, I spent many years in employment in mobile engineering, like out and about. And we felt isolated from the 2,000 people who worked in head office. And, you know, when you say, oh, we're mushrooms, you know, kept in the dark and fed on manure. We didn't say manure, ignore me. And so I think it scales up that isolation, you know. I think it absolutely does. But it could also create new issues. Interestingly, and this is slightly crowbarred in because I know when this podcast is going out, but we have an event on the 28th of March called the Digital Circus Live. I know it is crowbarred in, but
I do have
genuinely, you do have it here on the digitalcircus.live is the website. Sorry. But genuinely, hand on heart, one of the many reasons that event was created, because it was created in lockdown, it's a virtual event, is because we wanted to give opportunity for people to come together, because it is blimmin' lonely being by yourself in our small business environment, especially. So we wanted an environment where anyone in the world can come and join, chat to people, pop into different rooms, see different people, learn, network, feel connected, and then go home. And hopefully, if all they took from the time in the virtual Big Top was, oh, I enjoyed hanging out with some people for a day, that's enough. Tick. Anything else other than that is an absolute bonus. But just feeling connected, and we now say it's about people, connection, and conversation, when it started being about bigger things, but really, actually, it's about people, connection, and conversation. That's all we want to kind of create.
I wonder then on the kind of isolation piece, if you like, which means something different to us now, doesn't it, than it ever did before?
Yeah.
But this whole kind of feeling isolated, I wonder how for you that impacts your confidence. Because like you said, Emily, people go, well, you two have got each other. Like I just did naturally kind of, but it makes perfect sense. But how does that impact kind of your confidence in terms of what you're trying to deliver and what you're trying to do?
So for me, again, this comes, and there's many aspects. Alan and I have both got very different personalities, which we sort of complement each other. But for me, we have different needs as well. And Alan is a social beast, and he needs to be out doing things and to feel almost in that social arena, and to be the one standing up on stages and to do all of the above. He's very extrovert. I'm actually more introverted, and I am introverted. This is the thing, and it's difficult to say she's introverted, she's extroverted when we have a perception of that person from an outward from social media, don't we? And from watching content and things like that. But I do retreat quite a lot. I have inward conversations quite a lot. I have to have quiet times quite a lot, which is very difficult in the Braithwaite household. But in terms of, so what's the question again?
The question was how does the isolation kind of impact your confidence in terms of what you do?
So I have those sometimes that inner kind of comes around to it where I have to question, am I right in what I'm saying?
I think that's the big one.
I have to go, well, I do know what I'm talking about. I am an expert in what I have to say, but you don't always get that sounding board or that kind of debate sometimes, or that opportunity to stretch the brain muscle a little bit more to say, oh, do you know what, I'm okay. I spend a lot of my time, more so than Alan probably, in doing extra curricular education. I'll sit and I'll do another course. I'll sit and I'll learn. I'm a bit of a Google Analytics nerd. I'll sit and then I'll do the next bit. And I feel like I almost have to kind of keep educating myself, so I know that I'm fresh, that I'm current.
You do definitely feel you need to validate your knowledge.
Yeah, and that's the validation there. I need to make sure that I am so confident in myself that I am saying the right thing, because I don't want to give some knowledge to someone else that's completely wrong, or they're going to out me as being not the expert. And the isolation part of it, I suppose, is that you sit in your own thoughts quite a lot, don't you? And it festers, it completely changes direction to what it actually is fact. And that's true of anyone going through any confidence issues. A lot of it is in the top 6 inches. It's all going on in your own head, whether that's fact or not. It's true to you because it's happening to you.
I was watching David Goggins on. Do you know David Goggins?
No.
Goggins. You need him in your life. American guy. One of these was overweight, unfit, and now does like positivity stuff and he was talking about the 40%. So when you think you're done, you're actually only 40% in. There's another 60% to go. But I thinking of what Emily said and a couple of things that we do to help work with how we both are. So when you see these things about your social media strategy, you need to plan out the next 6 months. You need to do it. We don't do that. No. Right? It doesn't work for us. Okay.
We're not allowed to say that.
No, we can say it. We can say it. I'll tell you what. Because if we sat here today and made a plan for the next 4 months, in 3 days' time, we would look at that and go, what we were meant to be doing that day, and go, don't like that. No one wants to know about that. That's rubbish. And all of those doubts would actually come in, or we'd just be bored and go, I don't want to talk about that. So that doesn't work for us. We do underpin it with methodology and kind of like strategy. So when we create content, for argument's sake, it may not be on a 4-month forward plan, but how we create it and launch that content is on a plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
In my head, it
totally
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So therefore, that allows us to fly by the seat of our pants, make what a content that people are asking about, that audience of, we've had a question come in that morning and we go, let's do a live stream, let's do that. And it allows us to be more reactive. That works better for our personalities, but understanding how to do it. So rather than sitting there and going, I need to make content, Deborah's just emailed, I don't know who Deborah is, Deborah's just emailed asking a question, and us going, yeah, but what do we do with that? That's not on the plan. We can go, let's react to that. We have the time to react to it. And this is how you do it. Oh, I thought I knocked a glass over. So the confidence can come from understanding what works better for us, plus also how to actually, back to the black and white knowledge again of how to do it. And that's what that works better for us.
The working better for you thing, that's come up a couple of times, a couple of conversations really, actually. We were talking to a lady called Louise Miller, who is one of our speakers next year, and she's a productivity.
The Digital Circus Live.
She's a productivity coach, and we were talking about. She was asking what works for me in terms of productivity, what hacks I have for myself, my day to day, and I'm one of those people that even though I know there's a project coming up, it could be an essay.
It could be worth £1 million, and you'd still do what you're about to say. I would
still be doing it right at the last minute. I would have 4 months to plan it out, and I would still do it in that last week. I would always do it. And I said, is that a failing of me? And Louise turned and she went, no. It's not a failing. Yes, your superpower is the fact that actually, and the problem is, I deliver that work in a week, and it's the best work I've ever done. It's actually, I'm a sprinter, not a marathon runner in terms of that. And actually, the need to be able to do it in those final hours or those final weeks isn't a failing. It's just how my body works, my brain works. The same thing comes down to the content side of it. Alan just said we could plan out 6 months. But actually, it doesn't suit our personality and how we want to work. So we've found a way of making the work we do work for us. And that, again, having the confidence there to deliver that in a way that feels authentic to us as well.
Yeah. So we've been in business 10 years, okay, just over a decade. And every coach, every person like that, influency type person ever has basically said, plan, time block, have that strategy. And for about 10 years we've gone, this doesn't work for us. It just doesn't work. What if I want to go out to Greg's to get a festive bake, which we just did. What if are you telling me I can't do that because I've just said I'm doing social media for the next 30 minutes? And I know they're not always that literal, but it does feel like that. But we understand that to achieve something particular, you may need to do something you've never done before. I can't remember my quote. There's a quote around that. And we understand that, but we just feel that can all be achieved in different ways by understanding how to do something and ensuring your motivations are in the right place. And a lot of it comes back to self-discovery. And I imagine a lot of your clients go through quite a lot of self-discovery. And then I do think there's a healthy dose of pulling up your pants and big girls' pants and getting on with it.
And I think that, there's so much you said in there. I think, Emily, if I come back to your piece around, kind of thinking about, I'm the expert in this and going, actually, I've had all of these thoughts. My inner critic loves to ask me what if, or what if that doesn't go right, Gail? What if? And I heard that a lot in lockdown, what if my business isn't going to survive? What if? Yeah. And actually, I was chatting to one of my clients. We finished her sessions and we went and had coffee afterwards. And she was just like, there were 3 things. This was a few weeks after. So she kind of reflected on what she'd learned and 3 things. And one of those things for her was stop, where I'd said to her, when she's getting into that place, stop, take a breath, figure out what's fact and what's not, disregard the stuff that's not, and just deal with the fact, because what happens is your emotion then gets in the way of you, telling yourself, you can't do this. So I think that's just something really important. So just stop, just take a breath, and then think logically about it. And then your piece, the whole strategy thing is really interesting for me, because I think, well, first of all, I always did strategy in corporate life and was never like, what does this really mean? I think I Googled it at one point to get it right. It's just a plan, right? But we call it this big word. And I think your point about having a plan. So I've gone through phases, I think, with my social, going, I can plan it all out. And then looking at it going, that's a bit boring now. Because actually, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, do we? And things might change and things might be different. Yep. So I think there's this mix to have of you doing you and being confident enough to do that. And actually there are some weeks I go, do you know what, I don't feel like I've got anything interesting, or there's nothing interesting. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I'm okay with that now. But it takes time.
That's massive. That's massive. And we've always said that. And who are we anyway to tell someone else what they should be doing? You take our advice and then adapt it to whatever you need it to do. But there's more to be said in saying nothing sometimes, a bit like that Justin Timberlake song.
Is it called Say Nothing?
Say something, but
say something. I was like, I don't know what to say. And we love Justin.
But in terms of, if you can feel you need to get on that whole train of doing content because everyone tells you should be doing content. Now we think you should do content. Absolutely. We're not going to say you shouldn't do content, but doing it when it's right for you. And if you've got nothing to say, that's not, I'd rather listen to you when you have something to say that's been thought out thoroughly, that you have an opinion on, that's really meaty, than 5 posts in a row of a yellow mug because you've got to go, oh my God, Instagram needs something, and I'm just going to take a picture of this and I'm going to hold it up now and go, because that's just you having that inner feeling of panic of, I've been told I need to do content all the time. So actually stopping, like you just said, and actually doing you, if you want to approach the platform and whatever that looks like to you, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
I've got a few, like we know someone, and I've got to be very careful here, who's scheduled out a lot. And we sat there for this very long period of time, months, looking at it all coming out, going, it's dire, and it was getting 1 like, something like that, and it's, our vanity metrics get that, but 1 like's not doing anyone anything, right? And we're like, no, that's just not cool. But we're going back to our method that works for us, and that's really important. We understand the pillars of our business. We know what the pillars of our business are out. We've done a bit of work on that, and they're just 5 things. We talk, brand, website, content, social presence, opportunity. So we know what the pillars of our business are. Yes.
Well done.
We kind of understand what our values are. We've done a bit of work on culture and values, nothing heavy. So therefore, as long as we're making content that fits our pillars, that is within our values and follows a kind of the technical knowledge that we give people and we have ourselves anyway, it doesn't matter, because will it help us achieve our goal? Like right now, and this is crowbarred but not crow. Right now, we're talking about the Digital Circus Life. Does it fit our values? Is it with it, is it on our pillars? Does it help us achieve our goal? This is how you deliver it. Put it out. Absolutely put it out. And the other thing you talked about, you both just said about on those days you don't want to do it. We have days like that. I don't think we put anything out yesterday. Neither of us could be bothered. I'd had some bad sleep and a dodgy Sunday night, which I won't go into. And really, I wasn't in the mood yesterday. So
you went to the pub.
I went to the pub.
Yeah, he was
that kind of dodgy night.
That kind of dodgy night.
And so we didn't. What was my thought? But what I am a believer in, on the days when your motivation is high, your confidence is high, and you have the technical ability to go and do it, smash it out the park. Run until you can run no more. Absolutely. When you hit that 40%, as David Goggins I saw on TikTok this morning, and you think you've done for the day, but you go, no, I'm still motivated. Keep going and make the most of those days. Make the most of the days where you are on it and literally give it as much as you can. And and
you'll see those days on our own social media when you see the reels and the TikToks where Anna's going, Emily, and filming because his tripod's in his hand and he's making as many TikToks as he can in a space of 6 hours. And
sorry, no, I was going to say there's an element, you've got to be consistent, but also consistency doesn't mean 6 times a day. Consistency means regularly. I saw someone write the other day, I can't remember who it was now, by consistency what I actually mean is regularity. That I do. Emily's got a degree in English. I have to get things signed off by her. And that's what's important. Regularity, not 100 times a day.
Not every hour or something like that.
Not every hour.
I think you just said there, Alan, as well, go when your confidence is high in talking about posting. So when, for you, each of you, when do you particularly notice when your confidence is high? What does it look like and feel like?
Well, first one for me is sleep.
Yeah,
we've got 3 young kids. Sleep's a valuable commodity that doesn't exist in this house.
Yeah, so we go through fits and starts, and I and you to an extent, we both get SAD all the time. So this is the time of the year that we find regularly that we are in the downward dips rather than up in the peaks.
I don't like to label it though. I just say I don't like the gloomy weather.
Okay, Alan doesn't like the gloomy
I
weather.
don't like the gloomy
like
weather.
SOD.
No, but I'm sorry to interrupt. Apologies, but the reason I don't label mine, because A, I don't like labeling, but that's just more about me. But B, as long as I get outside twice a day, which we do on the school run, I'm vaguely okay. Right. And so for me, mine is kind of, I understand what I need, again, back to understanding yourself, and I can kind of be okay as long as I get. But if it's a Saturday and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and we've not been outside yet, then I'm scratching at the door. I'm like, I need to go outside.
But in terms of our confidence being high in those times, it's when we've been through periods where we've had that stability again, really. And that comes down to a lot of us small business owners. For us, at the moment, we're recording this in November. We know for a fact that in our particular industry, November, December, January to an extent is very quiet for us. That comes with it's Christmas. People are spending less on marketing than they are on their Christmas presents. We get that. But for us, then we have that downward dip there of going, okay, are people liking what we're doing? Are we saying the right things? Are people going to buy from us? And you have those periods of self-doubt again. When it comes to the side of that, and it always happens every single year without fail, so I don't know why we ever panic, when we know we've got that kind of consistency back and the sun is shining a bit more and people are starting to pick up the email again and go, actually, I spoke to you 6 months ago, can we have a conversation now? When that starts to work again in that kind of day-to-day patter, then all of a sudden the confidence comes, because you feel that motivation again. You feel like, we want to do more. And then again, when we have those core events in place or those core goals, and we don't schedule to 6 months ahead, but we do have quarterly goals, we have something that we're working towards. When we have that focus and that laser focus on what we're trying to achieve, kind of the confidence does start to build, because we're doing more and we're active a bit more.
I think that's a big one. We see that on social media overwhelm. Well, my overwhelm. What are you doing on social media? Well, I'm just talking. Okay, and this comes back to structure, not routine, which I kind of alluded to in the strategy kind of thing. It's like, where we may not have a routine, we do have that structure, and so we're understanding why. So for us, we don't get social media overwhelm as often unless we're tired, because we know why we're on social media in the first place. We have that structure, we have that quarterly goal, we're creating what we call macro content, and quite a lot of people in the world call macro content, it's not just us. We create macro content, so therefore when we're on social media, we know what we can talk about. So we have all this methodology in place, this structure in place, that does make those miserable times at October, well, January, February, March, let's be honest, are the three most miserable months of the year here in the UK. So we put our event, the Digital Circus Live, in March. So therefore, personally, we've got something to build up towards, and we've got a bit more focus and everything else. And we hope that the excitement of that virtual event may wash on to people attending it as well, like yourself, Gail. And we're very big. Like we've always said we want to take people along on the adventure with us. And the Digital Circus Live, without being crowbarred in, is as much about that as pretty much any of our products and services. We're on an adventure. How many people can we take along with us?
And it's the people that help build our confidence as well, because we do a lot of live video, and for someone like me, who self-confessed at the beginning, my legs go like jelly every single time I used to stand on the stage. I don't get that feeling when I go live on, say, Instagram Live or Facebook Live. It's really strange, because I kind of know that I'm going to have a bit of a chat with some people, and we've built that kind of element of community, so much so that I know for a fact, if I go live and 5 or 6 people join, maybe more, sometimes it is.
Sometimes it's none.
Sometimes it's none.
Then you have to dig deep, when it's none,
We mentioned our good friend Laurie, our mutual friend Laurie, the other day. She'll pop on and she'll say something, and it'll make me smile, and we'll have a little bit of a chat, and I'll reference the comments, and you don't feel alone. All you're doing is having a conversation with some people who are asking some questions, like you do with any of your clients, or if you're working in a bricks and mortar shop with someone coming through the front door. You're just having a chat. It just so happens that the rest of the world can watch it at the same time. But
don't think about that, because you're just having a chat with friends, and I think that's what people want to hear as well, because I think that's when you're most authentic and you're probably most confident, when you feel like, oh, actually it's just a chat with friends. I think the piece about the the grey and murky, the sad piece is really interesting at the moment. I was listening to somebody who did a talk at networking, and she was talking about how our vision is quite reduced, and when we're working, how we're working, you know, when we're looking at the screen. So I know when I'm sitting here, obviously I can see you guys on the screen, which is great, but beyond my screen there's a window, there's a fence, and there's next door's house, you know, that's what I can see. And she was talking about, you know, particularly at this time of year, getting out and kind of stretching our vision and stretching our eyes. I'm a little bit like you, Alan. I need to get out. So I said to you, I'm here on my own at the moment. Paul's away working, but I feel like I can't stay in the house all day. That's just not. It's probably not good for my sanity, actually. But equally, I need to get out, and I need to kind of stretch my eyes and my vision. But interestingly, some of the research around confidence, and there isn't loads out there actually about it, but one piece of it does talk about how our hormones and our neurotransmitters affect our confidence. And one of the neurotransmitters is serotonin, and your serotonin can be increased by daylight and light and bright light. And it's the serotonin that impacts your mood and helps to keep us calm, which then helps you because you feel better. It increases your confidence.
And that's fascinating, but there has to be the other kind of holistic things as well, hasn't it? Like sleep, diet, everything can affect confidence. I always have this thing like, so if I'm at home, not at home, if I'm kind of stood there and I decide to start singing and dancing, hypothetically, I have no issue people watching me. But if you told me to go up on stage and sing and dance, and the same people were going to watch me perform, I couldn't do it. I'd absolutely like karaoke. I won't do karaoke. I probably would actually. It's been quite a long time since I was in the pub. But up until like my late 30s, I know I don't look like it, but you know, but up until I know, damn, no one can. Up until my sort of late 30s and that, like you wouldn't get me doing it unless I was absolutely battered. And I've always found that interesting. But singing and people start watching, then I was very different. And I do kind of put this in that. I'm just on my phone or on the computer or on Zoom talking. And if people choose to start watching, then happy days. I don't know why they are different things in my head, but they are. Saying that, I'm quite happy standing up on stage talking about what we talk about, you know, or something I'm confident in, I should say.
Well, and I think that's it, isn't it? You're confident talking about what you're talking about. Actually, you're probably not confident singing because it's not something that you do constantly and regularly and that kind of thing.
Whereas if you ask regularly in the kitchen,
I'm not very good. I'm not very good at it. Put it that way.
Well, and you did also say, "Oh, I haven't been to the pub for ages," but you did declare that you were there on Sunday night. So you know.
Sorry, I'm not being authentic now. No, I don't go out drinking. Yeah. Well, actually, Sunday night was the first night in ages, and I saw some friends I hadn't seen in months. But I certainly don't go out drinking on Friday and Saturday night like I did 15 years ago or
Can't
something.
do it anymore.
15 years ago, and the rest.
15, yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore. Interesting. I'd much rather get up without a hangover and go for a run and things like that.
And hangovers take like 3 days to go now, don't they? Whereas you'd get up and you'd be all like, "Oh, I've got a hangover," and now it's like, "Oh God, why did I do that? Never do that again." So look, this has been so interesting, and we could be here literally all day talking about this. But I'm really interested to know what 3 things or what piece of advice you give to people that are listening that are maybe have got this fear or this lack of confidence in going online and putting themselves out there. What would you say to the listeners?
So the first thing I would say is, if you want your business, especially from a business point of view, if you want to achieve something, like I said, you have to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, and you have to think of what the bigger picture. And by you going online, by you writing a blog, by you having an opinion, by you doing a video, that could massively blow up your business. You just don't know. So you have to dip your toe and try it, and at least try it. Or second one I would say is find your people around you who can support you to get there. So if you don't have that skill set, if you're not sure about how to go live, if you're not sure about how to structure a video or how to create a podcast, there will be people there who can help remove those technical blockers. So just start that, go and find people, and then let them be your cheerleaders as well. Let them help support you so you feel good and warm and fuzzy. Do you have a third one?
Well, I thought you were doing all 3 then, Emily. We're having our own 3. Yeah, kind of. I think I agree, actually, sentiment. For a third one, I did have a third one. Just like, you've got to do it. You've got to start, build up small, baby steps. It's fine. We've all done that. And we always talk about, if you're really, really super nervous, start with kind of a voice message, build up to a video message, build up to a video, build up to a live stream, one step at a time, because everything can be achieved. Look, we learned to walk once, nearly all of us, so we can do it again. We can.
I've got a 3.5. 3.5.
When I said I was trying to stick to
3.5 is just because you see people who are confident on social media, don't assume that they're confident, because we are all going through stuff.
I've got a 3.75, 3.9. Remember that you are the expert in what you do, and that's not just being the expert in being Gail or Emily and Alan. That's literally, you've started your business because you know how to do what you are doing, and people do want to hear about it. That's another one. People do. This isn't 3. We can't give 3.
No, that's okay.
You know us well enough, Gail. We can't give 3. People do want to hear about
stop
it.
The recording and
I know.
Talking. Yeah.
She's gone. Gail, where are you? Gail, come back. She's gone outside.
Yeah. And they're all so true. And I think the baby steps one's really important, isn't it? Because it's easy when you're in business to feel overwhelmed, particularly when you see the really confident people that you perceive to be really confident that probably aren't, putting out content, constantly doing videos, and you're looking at them, comparing yourself and going, oh, I should be doing that. There's that word. But baby steps, like you say, start small, because they all move you forward, don't they? Every baby step moves you forward.
It's so true. And the whole comparison thing, and it's like pretty much every business ever in the world started in the pub, round a table, a mate or two mates. It literally started with a piece of paper and a pen or an idea. Every business. And and people go, oh no, I'm scared by them. And it's like, no, they would. Everyone started there. Richard Branson talked about his story a lot, doesn't he? So it's literally the biggest businesses in the world, or every business, whatever size, starts somewhere. So just crack on with it.
Oh look, thank you guys. I feel like we need to have another, you'll have to come back on and we'll have to go again, because we could part 2. We could literally talk all day. Thank you so much for coming on. The very last thing is, where, I think this is a really simple question, but where can the listeners find you? We'll obviously put everything in there. I think they call them show notes, don't they? Very fancy when we chuck it all on.
You can visit our website, which is www.yellowtuxedo.co.uk, or on any social media platform, pretty much everywhere, because we're just, our online presence is strong, at Yellow Tuxedo anywhere.
And do feel free to check out thedigitalcircus.live.
We've not mentioned that one before, Alan. We look forward to I'm really looking forward to that, actually. That'd be brilliant. Thank you guys so much for joining us. That it's been amazing conversation. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for having us. It's been fab, isn't it?
And I'll see you next time on the Confidence Conversations podcast.